Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state.
Welcome back to another episode of Innovation Unplugged, a podcast brought to you by the Innovation Center and the Alabama Community College System. I am your host, Matt Heaton, the Career Readiness Manager for the Innovation Center. And today we have the pleasure of hosting one of our own, Mr. Tom Chappell, Career Readiness Coordinator for the Innovation Center. Tom, how are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Glad to have you. First, take a little bit, tell us a little bit about what you've done in the past and how you kind of got here to the Innovation Center.
Okay. It's an interesting journey. So I guess I would kind of go backwards. Been on the team a little over a year, started in April. I had retired from my recent past was in the world of Parks and Recreation, was a director of Parks and Recreation for Hartselle, Alabama. Before that, I had been the assistant director in Decatur. Both of those had taken up about the last 16 years, I guess, of my career, life, whatever. I got burnt out on the park and rec world and managing. My degrees in industrial management from Auburn. I've always been in management my whole career. Started out in industry, kind of ventured into the health insurance world using my industrial management skills, I guess you'd say. It's kind of odd transition there. But anyway, then transitioned back into industry. And then had transitioned out of industry. Good Lord has a unique way of looking out for you, and I made a move. There was a change in my personal life that, as it worked out, the job change had fit in well. So anyway, I got into the landscaping industry. It just kind of a hobby, and it became a job, and sales and design and so forth. And then through that, had gotten to meet the director of Parks and Recreation, Decatur. That turned into, after a couple of years, conversation was, hey, if y'all ever have an opening, let me know. About a year later, he called me, hey, you still looking for a job? I said, man, I'm always looking. Long story short, I ended up as the assistant director, and then the game plan was to kind of work in the director of that. But about the time that was coming along, the long-term director of Park and Rec in Hartselle had retired, and living in Hartselle, I said, you know what, I think I may try to step into that. And I had served on the city council for 3 terms, 12 years. So I had to step down from that to apply for the job of director, got it, became the director of Park and Rec, retired, just piddling around. I wasn't really ready to quit working. Houston, mutual friend for some time, had made reference to a job opening. I got to looking into it. And I'd be honest, quite selfishly, I was just looking for a job at the time and looking for something in the state retirement system, contribute some more into that. And since I've got on the team, we went through all that process and got hired, and I've never even really looked at the retirement issue. Mm-hmm. The job, I just love what I'm doing, and it was just an absolute, it's kind of a God thing, if you will. The doors opened, and like I said, I hadn't looked back at the retirement part. That's secondary.
Right.
Just loving what I'm doing. So here we are.
Well, and to that point, one of my notes here, we've had this conversation multiple times. You were retired, ready to do whatever, piddle, work, tons of woodworking on the side. If you need any woodwork done, call this guy. But that new outlook to where you're coming back, getting all that retirement situated so you can get back into the state government world, to now the love for the job, that like there's no hourglass, like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You're just enjoying every day. Talk about that love that you've gained of this job.
Well, as I was kind of describing in my journey to get here, it was kind of, compared to a lot of people, there was a lot of change. You know, I changed jobs quite a bit. It wasn't, I don't know. In the past, I would tend to get bored, distracted, whatever, and start looking for other things. So I went to Auburn University. I wanted to stay home. I wanted to stay about the time that I was going to school. UAH was starting a hockey program. It was a club sport. I played hockey growing up in Huntsville, Alabama. And I told my mom, I said, I think I'm going to stay home and go to UAH and play hockey. She said, no, you're going to school. I was okay. But so I tell people that to say, you know, I went to Auburn. My son graduated in 2012. He was the fifth generation of my family to graduate from Auburn. It was just what we did. I was blessed and able to go to Auburn and figure out what I want to do. And I tell the kids now at these career fairs, obviously college is too expensive to go figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, it just doesn't happen. I was blessed enough to be able to do that. And I went to Auburn, joined fraternity, kind of figured it out, but not really, because I changed a lot. But fast forward all that time and get on here and come. So I enjoy the ability to talk to kids. So being in the K-12 world that we are, working with these high school kids and going to these career fairs like we do. And we talk to 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders. Hey, what are you going to do when you graduate? And many of them, oh, yeah, I don't know, you know, and that's where I was. And so the ability to share with them some of my experiences and some of my insight, I hope, you know, can pass along to them some words of wisdom about figuring that out and being happy in what you do and not chasing a dollar all the time is really, but to see the light bulbs go off in those kids' heads when they figure out, you know, some of our programs and skills and stuff. You mean I can do that for a career? Yeah, you could do it and make great money doing it.
Absolutely. On that note, coming from the background that you've talked about, what was it like stepping into the Innovation Center Career Readiness K-12 CRI world?
It's been crazy. You know, and I guess every industry, every job, you've got your acronyms and nuances and things about the job that are foreign to those outside that industry. But wow, stepping into the education world has been interesting to say the least. You know, as you well know, the acronyms are aplenty.
Yes.
You know, and so early on, I had, hey, time out. What does CRI stand for? What's CCRI stand for? What's ALSDE? What are all these things? So I had to kind of time out. Okay, now we put it together. But still learning every day. But just being immersed in it day to day and trying to have to figure it out and all the different Canvas and Elevate and Target X coming on and all these operational softwares that we use and have to get familiar with. It's and I learn better. Just hey, dump me in the fire.
Yeah.
Let me kind of sink or swim, not sink, but you know, just by hands-on doing it. To hear it and watch videos and stuff of it, I'm not learning. I just got to get my hands in it and learn. But it's been fun, exciting, challenging, and still every day I learned something that I didn't know. Right.
Well, and coming into the K-12 world with the requirements we have for someone to come on and being an instructor to instruct the labs of our courses for all of the 24 community colleges with the 5 years experience, and in the high school world, a lot of those career tech instructors, because of their SACS accreditation and things they have to go through already and their previous work before getting into education, they've got the experience to be onboarded and become one of our instructors. And so with you coming on with career readiness and kind of getting comfortable, we handed off the instructor onboarding to, and you've done a great job. Just talk about how that has grown and your comfortability. You can tell on a daily basis it's gotten better. Just tell us how you've done that and how everything's working out with that.
Okay. So like Matt said, we've kind of started a new process or new-ish process, trying to be more efficient on our onboarding of instructors in the past. Of course, it's the college's instructors, it's not our instructors, but we have some input into what they're doing since we developed the courses. And as I tell them on the call, one thing I try each call that I do, and back up 1 second, is we're trying to be efficient and consistent, I guess, across the board by onboarding each of these new instructors, so that I keep a checklist, I keep the records and the spreadsheet of all the new instructors when they come on, so we can make sure that each one of them are getting the same introduction, the same information, and we can check it off and know going forward that that's consistent information we're delivering to. So where in the past, we was just, hey, the college says, hey, this guy's going to instruct this course. He met the requirements, there he goes. So, but we have been intentional, and I think it has been appreciated by the instructors. I had been to quite a few labs where it appeared the instructors, while they may be quite comfortable with the subject of the course they're instructing, they weren't really comfortable, or I don't want to say we weren't comfortable, but they didn't really understand the big picture of what we were trying to accomplish in our Skills for Success programs and how that came about. So each of these calls, so the new instructors take the instructor course, which is the same course the students take online, so they're familiar with that theory portion. And then we have a relatively short 30-minute call where we cross the T's and dot the I's of some housekeeping things. But the first part of that is I tell them the story, if you will. I try to get it in 2 or 3 minutes. As my wife says, I can't tell anything in 2 or 3 minutes. It takes me a while sometimes. Don't know what she tells me often to shut up and listen. But anyway, I go through that process of how we came about, what we're doing, and the fact that we want all these courses to be consistent from north to south, east and west.
Right.
And since we're not the police of these labs or these employees, the instructors actually work for the colleges. We have no real control or say. So it's a plead to them to follow that instructor outline. If they'll follow that outline, that's really the only way we have to ensure that course maintains its consistency. Right. I tell them about the little game that everybody's played, where you tell the person on the right a story and then you pass it along, and by the time it gets around the circle back to you, it's totally different.
The gossip game.
Yeah, and so it's the same thing. If we didn't have these meetings with these instructors and insist that they follow the outline as it was created, then we would lose that consistency. Right. And who knows, you skid steer in Calhoun Community College in North Alabama and skid steer in Bishop State and Mobile could be totally different. So I think this process has worked well. But back to what you said, some of these instructors are coming from industry outside of the educational world. And we've identified some people that, man, they really know their way around a piece of equipment, but maybe not the best teachers of teaching that information. So we can identify that and maybe follow up with them and help them along the way to try to help them be the resource that we like to say we are. Once, hey, the course is developed, now we're just a resource for you to help you, help the college, help the student. And I stress to them the importance of, remember why we're here, the student, getting the student a skill, whether it's a high school student, or adult open enrollment student, an older student who's looking to change careers, or somebody just wants to learn something. That's what we're after, is getting them that skill. So that's kind of what I stress, but I think it's paid off. It's been received well. Some of the colleges are really into it, and got several that, man, we got new instructors coming on board every week. Mm-hmm. Some of them we still got some work to do on getting them to
and we're slowly but surely getting there. And like you said, you can know all things about, pick a topic of one of our courses, but the ability to relay that knowledge in a way to help the students in that lab understand, like, they're not going to know everything that you've learned, but if you can relate to them and put it in a way, whether it's our post-secondary open enrollment or our K-12, those audiences are different, and to be able to put that information in different ways for a specific age to understand is great to see.
And back to, me coming from outside the education world, it's made me appreciate teachers I had in the past. I was a average student at best. I didn't have to put a whole lot of effort into it. But I didn't excel. I didn't know how to study. I didn't, school was fun for me. But you think it back now and watching these instructors teach our courses and seeing the importance of being able to read the room, so to speak, figure out their students, what works best. Everybody learns different, as we know. They gotta, like me, I need to touch it and feel it to learn. Some can read and retain and learn, so there's different. Every student has a different way of learning, but the ability of those teachers that are really good can read that room and figure out, hey, Matt needs this type of instruction. Tom needs extra special help in his instruction, and but to be able to put all that together and in a big group. Not that our courses are as big as some, K-12 classrooms and stuff, but the importance of that and being able to see that's been good for me.
And the ability to differentiate and let every student leave with the credential that they initially, a month, 2 months prior, enrolled for to see them move on to what's next. Our past few months, you mentioned skills. Our past few months, 3-4 months, have been eyeballs deep into Skills USA. That was kind of brought on to us late, and you played a huge part in that. Just tell us a little bit about your experience with that whole deal. And I know we've got nationals that we're going to coming up soon. That's exciting, but give us your input and thoughts on Skills USA.
That was and is a great experience going forward. As of course, obviously you're well aware. You were the point man for our team on that, and when you got the word, I guess in January 1st of the year, is hey, let's go forward. So, Skills USA, an organization much like FFA, HOSA, 4-H, some of these high school and college organizations for students. Leadership program has a competition leg. Of course, Skills USA, high school and college, Alabama had not had a heavy equipment competition. All the competitions they have, and we learned when we went to Mobile to the state competition, wow, I don't know, 1,800 students, I think, competing in I don't know how many different categories, but proudly, we were able to put together on a relatively short period of time a competition for heavy equipment that included. We got to go ahead. Matt took the lead, and then I filled in where asked and where needed, and we put together this program. It consisted of the skid steer and excavator. And there was we had to come up with a test, a 50-question written test, and then there was pre-trip for each piece of equipment, and then we set up the skills, operation skills course, if you will. I think it was a tremendous success. At first we were thinking, this, we're going to get a lot of interest, and we did. We got a lot of interest, but based on our, the requirement that you had to, that we found out afterwards, you had to have had a Skills USA chapter established for a certain period of time. That eliminated many of the ones that were interested, and then you had to have taken our excavator and skid steer course as a prerequisite, which again eliminated some. So I think we ended up with 16, and maybe 14 competed. And it was great. And we were able to go to Mobile for 3 days, put the course together, put it all together. Everything worked perfect. I mean, we learned a little bit, and we'll tweak it next year. And then, like you said, we're excited to go to Atlanta to the Nationals here in several weeks and see that, learn about the national competition, and then come back and be able to maybe take some points from the national competition and put it into our state competition, so that next year and years after, these competitors from Alabama will even have a better understanding and shot at the national level. And so we're excited that we have a Mr. Baker, I can't remember his first name.
Jackson Baker.
Yes. From Hillcrest in Tuscaloosa. Shelton State Community College will be took his training there. Won the state competition. He'll be representing us in Atlanta, so we're excited to be by his side there as he goes through it. But it was a fun, a lot of fun. But to see these kids, those 14 kids that competed, man, they were really into it. I know we had one young lady who was in it. I think she was on a previous podcast, one of the ones from North Alabama that actually had accepted a job in heavy equipment before she graduated. So she was pretty well versed in it, but she tracked Matt down after the competition and wanted to know, why didn't I score, or what I score in this? She was really into it, but all the kids were into it.
Right.
The young man who finished second when we interviewed him, he
Thought I was going to win.
Cameron McDaniel from Lawrence County, he was like, when we interviewed him, he said, "Yeah, I thought I was going to get first place, but it was okay."
Okay. He's just a junior, so he'll be coming back in the high school division. And to your point on the other young lady, what do I need to do to be able to take it as a college student and rolling through that? Like, just because you're a graduating senior, a Skills USA competition is not over for you. So, so she's looking forward to that and kind of figuring out how to working for the Rogers Group full time and becoming a Calhoun student so she can compete for Calhoun next year.
But again, how awesome is it? I mean, you and I are sports junkies. ESPN on all the time when we travel. It's just constantly.
The only time you watch basketball, right?
Boy, yeah, it is the only time I watch basketball when I'm with you. But it's Sports Center on. So we're sports junkies and we love competition, but not everybody does.
Right.
But to see these kids in high school specifically, and hopefully in college a little bit. Still, kids or people love to compete. It doesn't have to be sports. You can be competitive in whatever it is you're doing, but to be competitive and have an avenue to be competitive in heavy equipment, how great is that? And I think the program's going to grow. We got the video done that really highlighted the week there in Mobile. It was super, just a well-produced piece of videography and testimonials and interviews and stuff, and I think we were making an effort to spread that out to the high schools. That's going to help those Skills USA chapters grow and our participation numbers where we've talked about and think that we'll have to go to a regional type of competition to cut it down. But again, to see the competition, coming from us who love competition, to see those kids ready to, hey, how can I beat that guy? How can I beat that girl? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to whatever's next with that and helping out with industry, colleges, however we need to. And that's one of the stories that pop out from the past year or the time that you've been with the Innovation Center. What are some testimonials or like eye-opening things that you've seen so far that you'll always remember, and may, piggybacking off the question earlier, help develop that love to where there is no end in sight? Just some of those stories.
Yep. I think probably the first one that comes to mind, and I remembered Edward Bell Tech was the school involved. So you had told me of this one, where I think they were putting together their first or one of their first labs for, maybe in their first lab for heavy equipment skid steer. Had a little bit of trouble gathering the required number for the lab. I can't remember the college that put it on, but
that was Central Alabama. That was
Central CAC. So, some of the teachers stepped in and took the course so we'd have enough for the lab, and so the lab was delivered at the high school, the career center there, and and so it was outside the windows of the lunchroom. They're operating their skid steers all day. Well, people come and go through lunch. Hey, what's going on out there? It's a class, skills for success class. Man, how do I sign up for? Like the next week, they had 50 or 60 kids want to sign up for it. But so again, to that point, it's like this stuff, a lot of this stuff is fun for these kids. I mean, they're learning, and that's the goal, obviously, is to get a skill to help them get a job. But if it can be fun on the way, makes it even better. So who doesn't want to, that's what we said, who don't want to play in the dirt on some heavy equipment?
Right.
How fun is that? And how can I sign up? And what do I have to do it? So that was one of my, I guess, the first. Another one that you have told many times I like, it was, I think it was a student who was on the spectrum, some disabilities, but took skid steer, found his niche, was able to really focus in on operating that. Actually got hired, I guess, cleaning a yard. I don't remember if it was a lumber yard or some type of production yard. And so they hired him to be the one that would take care of that with the heavy equipment and others to kind of clean up ruts in the roads and keep trash picked up and so forth. Anyway, the guy that hired him said, man, this yard's never looked better.
Right.
And so that young man had found his niche.
Absolutely.
Had a 40-hour job. So had he not taken that course and found that niche, might have been at a group home or something like that, working some other, not a job that wasn't important, but he really found something that he loved by taking that. So there's a couple of stories, and it's every day we hear them. And the one you've told before, a young lady that I guess it was one of the, maybe, I don't remember, it wasn't Ingram, but it was incarcerated.
That was an Ingram State group, and 3-4 years ago when they did that sentence reduction from the federal government, she was part of that, and she told me that day. I love telling this story, but she said my sentence got reduced, and she's like, the gate's open and they've got a bus waiting for you, and she said, I'm fixing to get on that bus. They're going to give me a $10 gift card, and I'm going right back to where I found trouble in the first place.
Yep.
And she said, I'm stepping up on that bus, and the lady comes out of the guard shack. Hey, there's a local women's ministry. Just had a bed open. Are you interested? So, again, we talk about God things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Firm believer. And she echoed it too, a God thing. But she's like, absolutely, because she was self-aware enough to know that I'm fixing to go get in the same trouble that brought me here. So it's just going to be a continuous circle, and I'm not capable right now of breaking that mold. And so she said, number one, create a relationship with Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Was able to get in with some of our courses and wound up taking the whole heavy equipment bundle. Wound up being a foreman on a local job crew. So she had a own crew she was in charge of. And then I think it was at our fall WOA that we went to, I followed back up with the folks at Ingram, and she had still working, had married, had kids. So like that one phone call, that God's always working in mysterious ways. We just trust and believe. But it's like a few more minutes, I'm on the bus and I'm gone. But the phone call that completely changed the trajectory that then brought her to the Innovation Center courses. And we could literally spend hour and a half, 2 hours talking about the things we've seen. Just every now and then we need those stories, because you get into the daily grind of what we do, you kind of lose track of what the end goal is, and we want jobs and things like that. But to hear those type of stories,
absolutely. I mean, that's what I talked about earlier. That's why I enjoy getting up, coming to work every day now. It's to hear those stories and see those things happen, and gosh knows how many of them have happened that we don't even know about. They're the numbers on our programs are growing significantly, and to a point where I'm sure there's more success stories that we don't even know about.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the success stories we talk about are related to heavy equipment and so forth, and because that's, quite honestly, that's the most numbers. But as we develop more courses, if we're up to 50 now, 50 plus, as those numbers of courses and the breadth of their coverage, it grows, and we're getting into the land surveying, drone, biomedical, water treatment. I mean, we're getting into some specific stuff as much more than the heavy equipment. So those stories are going to continue to grow. But that's another exciting part is just to see and we've talked about it, especially in the K-12 world, bundling stuff together, so that as we back down in the K-12, to where even maybe 9th and 10th graders are starting to take some of our courses that age allows them to take. But then, so by the time they graduate, they've got a pocket full of certificates, combined bundles that are really going to make them. We haven't seen it yet because we're 2-3 years into the K-12 world anyway. So now that we're starting to back into that, and in 2 to 3 years, some of these ones that are just getting started as freshmen and sophomores and juniors are really, really going to be marketable.
Right.
And when we talked about on the way down here, we talked about high schools on their awards day and a dollar amount of scholarships and so forth. When we start tracking the dollar amount of jobs that those kids are getting.
Jobs accepted, yearly salary after you walk across the stage. That would be.
That number is going to be exciting to see increase.
I agree. I think we are getting close. Question that I believe every podcast has ended with, but 3 to 5 years now, Innovation Center career readiness. What are we toasting to?
Hopefully we're toasting to a light at the end of the tunnel, my second retirement. No, I am. I'll be 64 this year. So, if we're talking 5 years out, I'm 69 years old then. Good Lord willing, I'm still working and I'm still enjoying and we're still growing and doing things. I mean, I have friends that are starting to retire and some have retired. My wife's retiring in 81 days and 12 hours and 57 minutes or something. She's got a timer on her phone,
right?
So that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be interesting, when she's not one that's going to sleep when she retires. So she still gets up about 4:30, but where she doesn't have to go to work and I'm getting up and go and work, it'll be interesting to see. But no, I have no plans. Obviously at some point down the road, it'll be shorter than the rest of on our team because I'm the old guy, but 3 to 5 years. It'll, just like I said a minute ago, when we start talking, I know we talk job numbers and the legislators that are gracious enough and that fund us so that we can have these jobs and then we can deliver these programs. But as they are interested in jobs and we sometimes say in the high school world, especially in K-12, it's hard to put a thumb on the jobs because we're talking 9th, 10th, 11th graders, and those kids aren't going straight into the job market. But so we're talking 3, 4, 5 years out. Now we're starting to see some of those ones who are putting together those credential bundles, certificate bundles. So it's going to be, hopefully we're toasting some very, very big numbers that we'll be able to put our thumb on then as to, like we said, hey, man, we got kids walking across the stage with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 jobs.
Yep.
Day one.
Absolutely.
No debt of college. No, they've got the skills that they need, and they can step into the job market because they choose to, and they have the skills and the abilities to do it. That's going to be exciting, and that is going to be a change from what we're used to because everything has been so focused on college readiness for the most part, and we're seeing the skills. And we were seeing every month there, a couple of times a year, these counties building these big multi-million-dollar career trade facilities. In Scottsboro, Hollywood, the
Evan
Alabama. Dukes,
yes,
the one in Baldwin County that's just opened, and we got multiple counties across the state building these, so it's exciting. And then the new guidelines will have the new diploma in high school, more career-based than college readiness. So, again, a lot of things coming in the education world that we'll be involved in, and that's, I think, to be able to toast to some of those successes and numbers that we don't know yet, but we, in that 3 to 5 year, we'll be able to see that come to fruition.
Right. Well, and the pendulum has, I think everybody can see, officially swung back from the push for a 4-year degree to you seeing all those career techs. Like, we've got to have the skilled trades where we're getting to a point where we're going to have that gap. So to be able to see our Skills for Success courses come full circle within that younger group that is the next workforce, to see all that come full circle into fruition would be something great to toast to. We are out of time. This is going to conclude another Innovation Unplugged podcast. Again, we have Tom Chappell with us today. We appreciate you being here, and thank you for what you have done for the Innovation Center. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow on all your social media platforms. Have a great day.